Welcome to my masterclass on overcoming addictions, a second chakra issue, and this class is on saying goodbye to self-sabotage and addictions. Before we get started, I want to take 3 deep breaths with you just to center myself and one I do when I feel anxious. We take 1 deep inhale, we take another inhale, we hold, then we let it go. It's like this. Inhale, let go. Do this 2 more times. Inhale, inhale, let go. Inhale fully again. Inhale as much as possible again. Hold, let go. This is my favorite technique for calming myself. It's really good with anxiety or any type of situations like that. So that being said, let's proceed to understanding addictions and how we utilize awareness to overcome them. The statement that holds very true here is until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we will call it fate. I want you to take some time to ponder on that statement because it really highlights the importance of awareness. So, what's an addiction? Um I define an addiction as an unconscious looping or coping mechanism. When unconscious, it is our go-to drug to escape or find a cheap sense of comfort in. I say a cheap sense of comfort in because really and truly it's us doing an activity to find some cheap sense of fulfillment and a cheap form of dopamine. It's not long-term fulfillment or conducive of getting to long-term fulfillment. So the importance of awareness here is highlighted when we bring awareness to an addiction or a negative cycle. We quickly begin to understand the key underlying reason of why we are acting in the way we are acting, why we are drinking, why we are reaching for a cigarette, why do we compulsively eat or endlessly masturbate or have sex, like hypersexuality. When someone has a willing to change after finding out their why factor, why they cope in the way that they do, this alone sometimes is enough to create the healing to overcome these negative looping cycles. So I did a little drawing here for you that characterizes the forces of self-sabotage or addiction and desire, because all of it kind of is linked together. So first off, let's understand the pull factor. What's pulling on us, keeping us back? Self-sabotage and addiction. Negative looping cycles. So this is normally cured in 2 ways. Disciplined action through motivation rooted in pain. The pain of being stagnant, the pain of what the addiction or negative cycle is causing begins to become so much that you can't stay there anymore. You are motivated to take action. Or the surrendering of the emotion. Going to the root emotion that causes the negative cycle and surrender that, and then you let go of it. It no longer pulls on you. But then there's another force that comes into play in getting to fulfillment, in getting to living in pleasure, and getting to our desire. And this is the push factor. It's an imaginary wall of resistance. In my experience, there's 2 ways in which this shows up, and it is the gratification of negative emotions. The aspect of yourself where you feel good feeling negative emotions. I know that could be quite something to some people to quite hard for some people to understand, but for some others, they know exactly what I mean. Is that aspect of control where because I no longer have these negative things pulling on me, keeping me back, I could go directly towards what I want. But in going to what I want, it's quite scary because I don't know the outcome of things. So I'm going to take action and take control of the action and control it. Do what I know is going to give me the outcome I know is going to give, where I'm comfortable. and that is self-sabotage. I know that if I self-sabotage, I'll control the situation and I know the outcome because I am accustomed to that outcome. So that's the gratification, negative emotions, and the glamour of desire, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So let's talk about first on that pull factor, right? Uh, Pull factor. We are motivated to take action because of the pain that is built. The tool here is relapse. Now, when we unconsciously relapse, you don't call it relapse because it's just us literally taking part in the action that we want to take part in, even if it's a negatively rooted one, negatively impacting one. But when we become conscious of why we're doing what we're doing, so all of a sudden it becomes a relapse. And while relapse is often viewed as a negative thing because why am I still doing this thing? I don't want to be doing it anymore. It's not true. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. Relapse just help build the pain. It helps build that factor. Because with every relapse that you're conscious of, you become more aware of how unfulfilling this coping mechanism is. And you become more aware of the root underlying emotion that causes you to do this coping mechanism. You see, when we relapse with an awareness of why we are engaging in our coping mechanism, it can be one of our greatest tools for healing. It helps build on that pain. That pain aspect is how will this act affect your future self and those around you, and is it where you want to be in life? Is this something that future vision of yourself does? Question. Ask yourself these questions. So the desire aspect now is getting to desire after letting go of that pull factor. We have a push factor here now, and we're pushing up against an imaginary resistance, or an imaginary wall, a form of resistance. Desire is found with the law of polarity. It's the easiest way we could find desire. The law of polarity states that if something exists in one form over here, it exists somewhere equally in the opposite energy elsewhere. The quote I wrote here is if it exists here, it has an equal opposite existence elsewhere. You see, after surrendering to the negative emotion of fear and shame, we begin to see a path to what we truly desired, another form of emotion rooted somewhere else, and we get an idea of what it is that we want to go after with that emotion or to that emotion. This desire also has a block, a new force pushing us from getting to it that causes us to self-sabotage that whole concept of gratification of the negative emotions as I just talked about. But there's also the glamour, and the glamour is the idea or thought of something that you really, really want, that you think you desire, and you think is going to be the cure, the end to all of your problems. So often, when there's something that we want, we look at it with rose-colored glasses. We idolize the idea with the grass is always green on the other side mentality. So much that we often obsess over the things that we want with the thought that they are the solution to all of our problems. In reality, this is not always true because, okay, there's an example I love to give here. And imagine that, yeah, right now you have no money, you're poor, or you're going through some financial struggle, or you have low status. And there is this job position that you really want only because it has a high status and high paying position. You know, everybody gonna see you and they're gonna be in such awe that you fulfill this role in society. And so you finally get this job, and you think that because of this job, you're going to also be able to go on vacations all the time, and you're going to live the life that you want to live with this money and get the recognition that you want. But because you do this specific job, you have all of your time and energy is taken up, and you have no time and energy to give to your family members or to anybody else. So you can't use your money, and your family suffers because of it. Your marriage suffers because of it. You have no energy to give to your kids or to your wife or to friends. And this is the thing about glamour, is that we often put on like horse blinders and we don't see anything else, all of the negatives associated with some of the things that we want. We just say, well, this is going to be a quick jump to conclusion. When we don't jump to conclusions, we give ourselves the opportunity to see more perspectives of it. From the moment you do jump to a conclusion and you conclude something about something, you no longer get perspectives of it. That's just been my experience. But I'd like to talk about this aspect of setting the intention, letting go with the glamour aspect. In my opinion, is a key concept of manifestation that's really spoken about. Manifestation is not that, you're gonna pray and practice some woo and this thing is just going to show up in your life. It's more an aspect of set the intention, write down exactly what you want, and take action steps to align yourself with this thing that you want and let it come towards you because you're doing the best that you can to achieve what you want. See, when we desire, we usually obsess and overthink about that thing that we want. The signals to ourselves that we don't have it, that we are in a state of lack. The universal law, like meets like, says that you attract what you want faster by embodying the vibration of that thing. That's literally you writing down the intention, saying, this is what I want, and taking action towards it as if you already have it. It means to set the intention for what you want, write it down as a goal, and stop obsessing over it. Instead, take planned action towards accomplishing your goal. This sends out a message to your unconscious mind that the universe that what you want in some form is already yours. Like meets like. The key here is just to let it go. So now I'll bring you to the 3 methods I've practiced to release negative cycles. One is the awareness and a willingness to change. This is very similar to what we just talked about. It's all in bringing awareness to the negative cycle and having the courage moving out of that state of negative slump idea that you can't do it into I can do it, and going into that state of, well, this is too painful here. I need to have the courage and the willingness to change. The shift in the root perspective is why am I doing this? Let's just go along with these slides. But sorry, an awareness and a willingness to change, a shift in root perspective, and getting rid of an addiction by getting addicted to something stronger. These are the 3 methods that I've practiced to release these negative cycles, and I'm going to break them down for you right now. So the first one is an awareness and willingness to change. What you're not changing is what you're choosing. A quote I heard that I had to just put it and include it into this because I think it fits so well. See awareness. By finding out our why, we instantly begin to heal. Immediately, our insight expands and we move up in consciousness. Up in levels of consciousness. So just think of it like levels of emotions. So from the lowest point would be apathy and depression, non-feeling or feeling a state of helplessness and hopelessness. Like nobody could possibly help me and I can't even help myself. But, a big state of numbness. Like I feel no emotion and I can't be helped. But from the moment we start to feel emotion and there's fear and there's anger and there's all this negative emotion, I think that's tremendously better than saying that I'm numb and depressive and apathetic and non-caring for that state that you're in. Because even if it's a negative emotion, it's still progress. So by confronting the root emotion, we are able to understand the nature of this emotion. Example, I drink too much because I use it as a cheap source of dopamine to keep me uplifted, to keep me numb, to keep me forgetful of, or to avoid looking at how much I dislike where I'm at in life right now. This example is true to me because at one point in my life when I drank like an alcoholic, I drank because I was depressed that how could life be like this for me right now? This is not my envision for myself. I didn't want my life to look like this. I can't believe it looks like this. And so you drink. So in moving out of that, there's a pain aspect that builds and you move from that state of fear, shame, anger, guilt, pride into a state of willingness, from the idea that you can't do something on your own, how could you possibly do this, to a state of I can do this. Actually, I can stop drinking because I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. I don't want that pain aspect motivate you to act on it. So willingness is when the pain builds and we are forced to show courage to move from a state of I can't to I can, and begin to let go of the negative emotions or the old cycle, to become willing to change ourselves at our core. So now we have shifting the root perspective of the emotion. This one is honestly my favorite. I think, in my opinion, this is my favorite, although it is the one of the more um, harder aspects to go after because it forces you to face yourself. The quotes I like here, and this is my quote: "The inner child, in its innocence, paints the canvas exactly as the world tells it." And we need to break that down because that's a big statement. See, this aspect, shifting the root perspective of the emotion, is the most powerful technique I've learned at clearing chakra trauma blocks. It's a part of something I offer to some of my personal clients where we go into a meditation together and I guide you to the root core trauma that you experience and help you shift the perspective of the first time you experience that trauma. And we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's get through this one first, right? Um, so the primary block of the second chakra is shame and aspects of fear, because fear is the first chakra that we need to clear first before we get to the second chakra. But in this aspect, if it's just working with addictions, we want to clear the second chakra, which is the home of lack of boundaries, and the home of where this addictions lie. Ideally, you'd want to clear all three first chakras and have those clear before you proceed forward, to not have any of those negative cycles holding you back, because those are your stability aspects, the emotions that keep you stable. So in this method, we tap into the emotion to get to that first time you ever experienced this emotion as a baby. It doesn't matter that you don't remember it, because I know a lot of people will say, well, actually, Mark, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast this morning. How do you want to remember? How do you want me to remember what I experienced as a baby? It doesn't matter. If your eyes were open and you were conscious, you could bet that your unconscious mind were recording it. And so this works because as a baby, you experience. So we're getting into how the trauma sets here. As a baby, you experience this big negative emotion. And remember, a baby, as naive and innocent as it is like a sponge. It's soaking up all of the information around of it because it's so curious. And uh, it will believe anything that the world tells it. It's painting a canvas, and however it paints that perspective, that's the perspective it's going to take. And in that moment of experiencing this big negative emotion, it's going to cope with it in some way. And that coping mechanism is going to be what they're going to use the next time they feel that emotion. So now, as an adult with an adult's perspective, you're able to go back and repaint what happened by shifting the perspective, by seeing exactly what happened to you as a kid. And just having an adult perspective is going to clear that trauma up right away. It's going to logically have a shift in your mind. Um, this simple shift also shifts the coping pattern that we develop as a baby to cope with these big emotions as a result. And we are no longer attached to the old narrative from the moment you have this meditation. Uh, if you do go back to the old narrative and go back to the old cycle, it's because you, and I say this with all love and intent, if you do go back to the negative cycle in the past that you let go of, the coping mechanism that you let go of, it is 100% a conscious choice to do so at that point, and it's one on self-sabotage and it's one on control, because the push and pull factor, the push factor, the aspect of going back to the negative because you don't want to, you're afraid, there's a fear there blocking you of, well, what if, for me this showed up as a fear of success, a fear of being seen. There's a few more different fears overlapping and layering into that I had to work on, into just being able to show up for myself, to not self-sabotage, right? So now let's talk about the second chakra, because this whole aspect of shifting the root perspective is a second chakra issue. Um, So the second chakra is an energetic point in your body that can be interacted with and felt through emotions. And we have senses, we have taste, we have touch, we have smell, we have hearing, we have sight. But we often don't talk about the emotions that we have as a sense. Like emotions is something we all have, yet we tend to not acknowledge it. And when we start to utilize emotion a lot more, we start to realize that all memory is found in emotion. Every experience you ever had in your life, there's an emotion that's tying that event. There's it's tied to an emotion that you felt, and if you tap into that emotion, you're able to relive the experience that you had while feeling that emotion. And so you could get to the root memory from these emotions, the first time you ever felt that emotion, the roots of it, right? So this is how trauma and chakras work. So chakras are center or points within the body where those emotions find themselves rooted. And so as a baby, the first time you ever felt this emotion, let's say the first time you felt fear, and this is not a story of me, but a story I heard from a teacher gone past, and I love this story. Imagine you as a baby, a Velcro baby, stuck to your mom, and one day she has to put you down in the crib, leave you alone for 5 minutes because she has a hot blister and shit, and she can't take you with her. Now, to you, she just left you and she abandoned you. And how could she do such a thing? And you felt fear for the first time, a fear of abandonment. And so, to cope with it, you, in whatever way that you do decide to cope with it, you cope with it. And the next time you feel fear, like an onion, it has layers. The point, the center point being the root memory. The next time you feel fear becomes the next layer, and you cope with it in the same way that you cope with it before, because that was the pattern you learned how you chose to cope with fear of abandonment. The next time you feel fear, you use that coping mechanism, and you have a new layer and a new layer until now, as an adult, you have a big old new layer. And when you feel fear, you use that exact same coping mechanism. Might have altered along the way just a little bit, but it's the same coping mechanism. And so when we, as an adult, now go back to that root cause and we see from in meditation, we relive that experience from a third perspective, an adult perspective, and see that, um, you know, she just had to take a hot shit, and she in fact was not abandoning us. We just misunderstood the entire situation, and this alone shifts the entire, repaints the entire thing right away, where you don't have to do any more work after that. You just instantly shifts it. And so it breaks down, the second chakra breaks down to the statement, an inability to trust in your pleasure, because, well, all sexual trauma blocks the second chakra as well. It's one that deals with boundaries and whatnot, and we'll have to do some work into it when we get to that point. Um, but it's an inability to trust your own pleasure because something happened when you were a kid. You were in your pleasure, you were having fun, and you don't think of consequences when you're in your pleasure. But something happens that stops you from being in your pleasure, and everybody laughs at you, and you feel shame because shame is the biggest block of the second chakra. And when you feel the shame and it riles up within you, you tell yourself, well, they're all laughing at me. I'm feeling shame now. I can't possibly be right. How could I trust myself? Because when I was trusting myself to have pleasure, but I can't trust myself to have pleasure. They know what's right for me because they tell me I'm wrong. They must be right. And so also there's also this aspect of codependency as really big with block second chakra. Um, Codependency is not needing others. It's actually needing others to need you. So when you have these symptoms, this is how you'll know it's blocked. You have trust issues, a lack of boundaries, that codependency, which is it's needing others to need you. A lot of addictions, the whole concept of not enough. Like I don't have enough money, I don't have enough food, I don't have enough. not able to provide for yourself, the idea that you are yourself not enough, um, or the inability to pursue and receive pleasure, which does show up in your sexual life as well. So now let's talk about getting rid of the addiction by getting addicted to something stronger, which is quite the funny thing. Shifting the entire narrative that this is what makes me feel good to now this is what makes me feel good. Getting those same feel good hormones and releases, but from an entirely new different thing. And how we switch from a negative cycle to a positive cycle and do that exact same thing. The easiest way to get rid of an addiction is by getting more addicted to something else. And this is a quote given to me or said to me by a past teacher. A new habit takes 21 days to concrete itself into your routine. That's 3 weeks of solid discipline, especially if this new habit you're trying to try out is a challenging one. It's a lot of discipline and a lot of mental fortitude to establish a new habit. It requires a great deal of pain and a great deal of motivation to fuel into you staying consistent that this is what I want. I have great news for you. There's a short daily meditation that you could do that I've been practicing that literally tricks your mind into believing that you are already accustomed doing a task. So it takes less repetition to solidify into your routine. Meaning, when we do a new task, it's mentally and physically draining. By doing a meditation that tricks our brain into thinking, neuroplasticity, helping those neural pathways form, we feel less mentally drained and less tired when doing an activity. It's almost as if we are accustomed doing that activity, so that building that habit is so much easier in that 21 days. In fact, building that habit happens way faster than 21 days. I haven't tracked tracked how fast compared to 21 days it takes to make that new habit. I think it would be a cool experiment to do though while doing the meditations. Um, so this is the course outline that I have structured with this masterclass. And the first week is all about the awareness and willingness. This class alone will be enough for somebody to overcome any addiction and get to any desire that they want, but it all depends on them. It helps them. This class helps us find the root cause of the negative behavior and builds on that pain aspect to find that willingness to overcome the addiction. It begins the healing process and helps the individual walk away from the negative cycles or addictions, because it helps them see very clearly that this is what's paining me, this is what it's doing to me, and helping bring awareness into the area of that life cycle. Its effect and speed depends on the individual completely, because one person could take the initiative and say, well, I am deeply motivated by this pain and I want to make that change in my life today, and take the initiative to let go of that negative cycle because that's not where they want to be in 5 years. Or the next person could be like, well, I'm somewhat addicted to it. I'm not that bothered by it. I understand that in 5 years' time it'll put me and my family in a very bad position, but I'm going to try my best to let it go when I let it go. There's two different dynamics there in terms of mental shift. One of them, that last one, he's most likely not taking the initiative to let go of it as strong, even if the pain is really bad, because the coping mechanism for them is one that they feel like they need in their life to survive, because the emotions could be quite scary like this. Sorry. The second week is all about shifting the root perspective. This one is the most powerful one. The first week builds on the awareness. The second week literally goes in meditation into rewiring the program of our unconscious coping mechanisms, getting into it and shifting that perspective, that and shifting the coping mechanism. This method asks you to look at your shadow head on and then release it, which could be a quite a bit of a scary task. But if you are willing to do the work and take accountability for yourself, that you are exactly in where you are in your life today because of your actions, then I guarantee you this will be one of the most powerful shadow work sessions you ever do in your life for self-healing. And this is initiatives work, meaning the initiate, not initiative, sorry, the initiate. This is an initiate work because the initiate is somebody who takes responsibility for their life, that they are exactly where they are because of their choices, and makes the best out of that scenario, as in they take the steps required to make that change in their life. And if this is you, then you're able to do this course with me up to week 2 and shift that for yourself. If this is not you and you're not willing to take that accountability, then this course, I'm sorry, will not be what you're looking for. It's not going to be that help to you in terms of that instant switch that you're looking for to let go of the negative and instantly dive into the positive of releasing that resistance and going towards fulfillment and desire, because that's what this course does. The third week is all about getting addicted to something stronger. So we've let go of that pull factor pulling us back. We've let go of the negative cycle. Now we've also let go of the resistance. But here's the problem I've had personally. When we let go of the resistance, we often find ourselves in a situation, well, okay, I don't have these negative emotions affecting me, but it's very scary trying to start something new and continue in something new. So there's oftentimes we get new cycles, new way to cope, new way to kind of help ourselves or hold ourselves up in the interim of trying to stay consistent to something, a new habit that we're trying to build, because it's almost as if we're trying to switch we're switching the version of ourselves into something completely different. And in that process, we could get lost in other activities that are going to propel us into maybe not as negative of a cycle, but still negative cycles. So I'm also including the group meditation workshop to trick your mind into thinking that you've already accustomed doing something new, new positive habit that you're trying to integrate into your daily life, so that we build on that neuroplasticity and help your brain feel more accustomed and more regular doing the things that it is that you want to get done. That being said, I have a gift here for you, and I'm launching my esoteric school on Patreon. And this course is available for purchase for 500 USD. It's valued at, or I value it at more than 1,000 USD when buying it, because you get lifetime access to this course and all the meditations classes that has a lot of reusable value to it. You could use any of the meditation classes to expand awareness in any aspect of your life and use it for any aspect of shadow work, which is basically one of the services I provide. But with this, you don't even need my services after you buy this, because you could use that same script and go into, and it's just like a slight change that you'll have to tune to intention within yourself. But you'll be able to use that same script to go into, to help guide you into that trauma, basically a root trauma, and let it go. If you don't want to buy the course that's listed for 500, you could buy a subscription, which from now until the 1st of September, I'm giving out for 50 USD per month. And as long as you maintain a subscription, you'll continue to have this 50 USD per month for your life, for as long as the subscription lasts. Reason being, at September the 1st, I'm going to up it to 200 USD per month as a tuition fee for school. This course is going to be the first course of many, and as you can see, this is this is my second course. My first course is a tarot course designed to teach somebody who is a complete beginner at tarot into an immediate level of tarot, how to understand and read the cards and utilize it as a form of divination. You do get a 7-day free trial when you do subscribe, which will give you access to the entire all courses. It's a full access pass that the subscription gives you. And yeah, I want to say a very special thank you for showing up for yourself today. And don't forget to celebrate your small wins, because just you showing up and you listening to this and you being here with me all the way till now to look at this showed initiative that there's you're making a change in your life. You're taking these small steps necessary, one step in front of the other to be 1% better or a better version of yourself, to give up on those negative cycles. And I know how hard of a task sometimes that could be, and how hard sometimes it could be just to accept the wins in your life, to go after what it is that you want to accomplish in life. And I want to say that that takes guts, and I'm proud of you for that. And I hope to see or hear more from you in the future. That being said, um, again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for yourself, most importantly. I love you. Have a good night.